Well, it's a lovely, lovely, very bright Friday. You can hear that everybody's out having their roof work done, so you're going to hear nail guns and all kinds of stuff. We're not getting any work done, but other people are, and cars are driving around. It's just a gorgeous day. Gorgeous, gorgeous day. We just got back from vacation.
Yep.
We never take vacations.
Nope.
So we took a vacation, and it was a learning experience because we doubled our elevation, and I found out that I'm actually fairly susceptible to altitude sickness. It was gnarly. I had it was crazy. So be careful. If you jump your elevation a whole lot, you have to drink a whole lot of water and be prepared to feel short of breath like a lot. But we were up in Fairplay, Colorado, and there's nobody there. It's so quiet. And it's actual high plains, like alpine high plains. I didn't think that was a thing. Like the Clint Eastwood movie, High Plains Drifter, I always thought it was just like, plains in this area. No. 9,000 feet up. What's like 3,000 meters or something? And it's beautiful. It's like it was this huge, flat, round prairie surrounded by a ring of snow-capped mountains. Mm-hmm. Coolest thing about Fairplay was...
Oh, the museum.
The museum. They have the South Park City Museum, which is a genuine, authentic, made with the actual stuff recreation of an 1890s mining town, just like the old Wild West town and everything. They've got all the buildings are there. All the buildings are original. They're filled with all this original stuff. They've got an original train there with its original caboose and its steam engine, driver wheels and everything. And it was really, really cool. I wish we would have spent more time there. And I'm sorry that it's, 3 hours away. But it's really cool. If you Google South Park City Museum, you'll come right up with it. And they have pictures of everything. I mean, it was super cool. And that was absolutely worth the investment in time. Mm-hmm. Well, it's Friday. Do you want to do wrist check?
Sure.
Oh, I think it's a good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, wrist check.
I was going to wear something different, but I forgot. And, oh my God, it's all... I was doing stuff in it.
June 1968 with a lovely tiny blue, faint insert. Nice amount of wabi. Talk about a wear without fear watch. Okay, you take my watch. Let me take my thing. And I'm wearing a watch I've never worn in wrist check before. My Contra. These things are pretty cool. These pieces are modular, and there's actually 4 different modules you can put in this thing. One is an LCD element, one is a compass, and then this is for calculating distances on a map. You run this wheel along the path that you want to take on your map, and it tells you how long it is, but it can be swapped out. I got it out because it needs a battery. See, it's doing the 2-step. But I got it out, and I'm like, what the heck? How often do I get to wear a Contra? So that's what I'm wearing. Well, let's do this thing.
Okay.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in, by the way. I appreciate that.
Last mail call. Hi guys, Duncan here. Question: is the 7548 7010 the best iteration of the 7548 series? Thanks so much. And the Greenbean looks truly stunning. Congrats.
Well, thank you for saying nice things about Greenbean. I only see the issues, so right now she looks like a car-shaped pile of problems that needs to be solved. But I'm getting along. I'm getting along on Greenbean. We came home from vacation and I started her up so I could feel better, and still got a real rough idle. And I've got to figure that out. I think I've got to figure out to do testing to try to find that idle that, if there is a vacuum leak, which I think is a real possibility. So that's something I might have to pull the carbs and put new gaskets on there to try to eliminate that. If anybody has any suggestions about that, I would appreciate hearing them. What was the other part of what he said? Oh yes, 7548 7010. The 7548 7010. Well, that would be the one that has the screw down crystal and the 200 meter depth rating. It's funny. In my life, I think I've seen one.
Really?
Yep. That's it. It has the same screw. Wait, 7548 or 7549? Yes, 7548. I think I'm talking about the right watch. If not, everything I've just said is garbage, and everything I'm going to be following up with is also garbage. But there was they made it with a 200 meter. There was one that was made with a 200 meter rating on it with a screw down crystal, and that is really nice because one of the things that goes wrong with like 6105s and those kinds of divers that have the snap down crystal retaining ring. The modern one's rare 7548 7010. Transitional, yeah, it's a 200 meter. I was correct. I think I've owned one. There it is. See, it says 200 meter on the dial. The only difference is that crystal. That's it. Nothing else is different. It's a standard 7548 movement, but I really like the fact that it's got a screw down crystal retaining ring. I mean, I think that's a massive improvement because the crowns on those are perfectly capable of 200 meters, and that's what the existence of this model tells us because it's got the same exact crown, same exact caseback seal, and baby, you got a stew going. So, yeah, I'd say so personally. It erases the one, it rectifies the one problem with the 7548s.
Joseph Stewart 4440. Hey Spencer and Sabrina. Question for next mail call. My beloved 7548 7000 from May 1979 was serviced a few months back while the movement overhauled all new seals and one of your crystals installed. Just this week I noticed that the hour and minute hands have changed color ever so slightly from the original vintage white to white with a hint of bluey green. Apart from being pissed that I've lost the awesome vintage white color, is there anything else I should be worried about? Lots of love from Morpeth, New South Wales, Australia.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But they randomly changed. I would think that dude like swapped out.
Well, I read it as he had the work done and then it changed over time.
Okay.
And bluey green means that you're getting copper leached out into the salt blue solution because the lume is salt based. So if you get any moisture in there, it'll react with the brass of the hands. It's tarnish is what it is, and it can be addressed, though I can't really. I could tell you how to fix that, but it would give away one of my secrets, which I'm so sorry I can't do. I've seen this happen before. It was one of the few times that Jonathan Koch of blessed memory screwed up badly, and he told me about it. He was doing, I think it was a 6309, and he rebuilt the whole thing, and he sent, it was a 6306, and he sent it out, and by the time the watch got to the customer, the lume had changed color. And the reason that it happened is because Jonathan had not made sure that everything was dry inside, and there might have been water still caught within the crown, and then that reacts. First things first is to put it on a plate and put it in your refrigerator with the crown unscrewed all the way and pulled out to time setting to try to pull any extra moisture out of there. I've returned hands like that to white, so I don't know. Maybe it's something you want to think of. Though you're in the wrong side of the world. I don't know. Maybe we can try to work something out to get you helped. I would just tell you, but it's one of my proprietary discoveries, and I don't want to just give it away. As much of a jerk as that makes me, it's one of the few. It's one of the few things I have that is absolutely uniquely mine. It should be able to be addressed, and I know what you're talking about, but get it dried out first. That'd be the first thing to do.
Villo 1633, love the 6105, got a June 68 as well. I also have a June 68 6106 8100 Chevron dial in mint condition.
I wish mine was in mint condition. There was something about mine, my mint condition one, which wasn't mint condition, is the dial surface just coming off. And it's not the first time that it's happened on one of those. So I have no idea why. They're rare. Mine's cool, but I haven't been able to wear it because while I did a pretty okay job repairing the dial, I'm very aware that it's been repaired, and the repair is all I see. And I'm afraid that the dial is going to start flaking off again. But that's awesome that you've got one. They are rare. The cool thing about those is if you look at those chevrons, they're the same shape and size as the lume plots inside the 12 marker on a 6105. It's just replicated at all of the hour markers. I didn't realize that for many, many years until I was dealing with mine, and then there it was. Pretty neat.
Super EW1TY. I had a case back that I couldn't remove. I super glued a nut to the back and used a wrench. After I used fingernail polish, I'm assuming you forgot to say remover, to remove the nut by dissolving the glue and no damage.
I never would have suspected that super glue would hold that strongly to metal. It's non-porous surface. It held that well, so well that you had to use a solvent on it. That's crazy. I've never played with super glue because I understand it. It's a cyanocure. It uses a highly volatile cyanide-based, cyano-based, whatever you want to call the stuff that keeps it running and stops it from drying away, a volatile element. I never thought it would have bonded to steel. That's crazy. Thanks for letting me know that. I will, if I ever run into that situation again, I will remember. I don't usually have to because I have Big Bertha. I have my big, huge bench-mounted caseback remover, which brooks no dispute. But it's nice to have a plan B. Cool. Thank you for that.
From the same person, love to see the time and beat error set reborn and ready to go.
Isn't that fun? It's one of the greatest things about working on a watch is when you get it to the point you get your amplitude where you're at. Once you get your amplitude where it's at, why then it's clear sailing at that point, and then you dial in the numbers, and you see that beat error vanish, and then you can get finer and finer, and to the point you get the flat smooth output with no beat error, and it's like, yep, it's like you're bringing it back to life, and it's ready for more honorable service. Yeah, it's great. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of doing this kind of work for me.
Zwei 200123. Wear it without fear, enough said. Okay. I don't know what it is.
It's one of the things I think is, you get watches. These watches I have, some of them are exquisite. I've owned so many exquisite watches that I've never been able to wear because I didn't dare to wear them because I didn't want to jack them up. So you have, I like wear without fear. The dial and the hands are great. Sealing surfaces are excellent. Everything is rebuilt. Maybe the outside has a little bit of wear though, but that's perfect. It means it's perfect inside and it's perfect outside, that I can wear it without fear. I don't have to, be always, trying to cushion and cradle and protect my watch on my wrist. And that's wear without fear. That's my goal.
Fate Stealer.
Fate Stealer?
I think.
Don't steal my fate unless it's bad. In which case, go for it.
Beautiful watch and excellent job as
Thank
usual,
you.
Spencer. Was wondering also if you can service and do a case rebuild on a 7T326,000 titanium Spirit chronograph.
Oh yeah, they're standard. They're standard. Though, like those button seals on all LCDs and chronographs and all LED watches. Not LED, LCD and stuff. They all use pretty much the same button seals and the same technology. They use the little C-clip retainers. You just take it apart, rebuild the case, and there you are. The biggest challenge on any of those is the way the crystals work is you have the crystal is set into the crystal bezel with a nylon gasket. That gets set in, and then you have another nylon gasket that goes around between the bezel and the case. And those are sometimes funky to put in, and also the replacements are often hard to find. In many cases, people have to resort to reusing their original nylon gaskets, and they work fine. But the problem is that it's easy to jack them up. It's easier to jack up a brand new one, but it's always a little hair-raising to do one. Somebody's knocking at the door.
Mm-hmm. Jeffrey Hickman 3871. I'd really like to find a bucket full of these at an
Watches.
estate sale. just watches in general.
if I remember correctly.
It would be very interesting going through it, looking at all the different watches. Mechanical watches are my favorite, but battery-operated ones are fine too. Your friend Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always a voyage of discovery when you get a batch of new watches, and you really get to look at them and see how they've worn and learn new stuff, and just it's a happy afternoon spent looking at watches. I have been avoiding buying watch lots on eBay. I really have been. I have a lot of watches, and I have a problem selling them. But I'm going to try to rectify both things. We want to start listing and selling watches like every week, and at some point I'm going to have to rebuild. So maybe I'll have some more videos coming up of what's in the box. People do like a good what's in the box video.
7015 Time Sonar video. Dedication 3. Wow. There is another incredible reference every day that I've never seen before.
Tons of them.
What?
I said there are tons of references that we've never heard of before, because Seiko makes so many weird versions of so many weird models.
I'm already addicted to kanji versions, but man, that one is really cool and so impressive that you repainted Sunday. That it's fantastic work as it appeared stock before you mentioned it. You should be very proud. It must be hard to decide to sell it.
It was hard to decide to sell it, and I'm super grateful. Thank you for telling me that about because I showed Sabrina, and she was like, oh, yeah, that's nice. She cool. She got it and everything else like that. But it's like, I can't believe I pulled that off. Sometimes I do stuff, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. I swear to God. Because I assume pretty much that everything I do is I'm rolling the dice. Oh, this might work. Let's try it. and it worked. I had to swab the paint off the first time. It got blobby because I had the paint too thinned out. But the second time, it was a little heavier, and it just managed, because those day wheels, the printing for those days actually stands a little proud of the surface. So if you can get right on top of that and just drag it along, the surface grab will be just on top of that thing, and it'll hold it. But it came out way better than I ever expected it to do. I thought, I tried it as a maybe, and then it worked out, and I was like,
You did a very good job.
And I'm super proud of it. I didn't want people to think that I was, becoming, self-aggrandizing or anything, but I was pretty impressed with that one.
As you should be. Yesterday's watch review today, the Seiko 6105 8000. Josh N5625. Great video. I think the 6105 8000 is possibly Seiko's best dive watch design ever.
It's a beautiful, beautiful design. The only problem is the lack of a locking crown. That's the only thing that bugs me about those. If they made, what we need is a dead stock 6105 with the right dial and everything, so it looks correct in every way, but it has a screw down crown. I'd do it in a second. If I had enough of them, if they were cheap enough, I would consider putting like a twin lock screw down crown in one. You can do it. It can be done. You can make it happen. I think the crown might have to be different though, but possibly non-Seiko. But I tell you, with those things with the screw down crown, that's just the best. Of course, there's the modern version. There's the modern, like basically 1-to-1 version of it, and it's not bad. It's not bad. The casework is great, as it always is.
The Overdue Review Part 2, Redune 6105 8000 from WR Watches. Johnny 7204. Saw both this in Part 1. I agree 1000% with your criticisms of Seiko. No, here we go again. Past originals, incredible.
They know what they did.
Current, take the money and run. Fakey redos, disgusting. I'm totally with you. We won't even go into their misalignment culture over the last 10 years, which have forced me to leave the brand.
I mean, there's simple problems to fix. There's simple problems to fix. They were fixed before. They went and created a problem where there wasn't one. Because they went from the 6309 chapter ring style, which was metal, fitting very tightly to a tab on the dial, perfect alignment, and it was also printed correctly. That's all you have to do, really, is make them printed correctly. But the 7002 style chapter ring, which moved on to the 7S26s, 007s, and all that stuff, it's a plastic ring that has a single locator tab, and the locator tab is kind of loose in there, and so it can move a little bit. And then the printing is also not accurate. It's like they sat down one day and said, how can we make our watches crappier? And it's a tremendous hit to people's ability to support and enjoy them, because it's so endemic, and they just don't care.
Yeah, but I mean,
they're standing on the corner eating hot dogs.
I'd almost argue that that's kind of always been Seiko's thing, because they've stopped making parts to repair old watches, so they want you to,
Buy a
new one once the old one craps out.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, they don't want the spare parts around. Seiko has a thing where they used to create sort of filler models, and they were doing it to use up it was like the 6139 6007, which was a 3-month-only, Mexico-only version of the 6139 6005 or whatever, made specifically to soak up parts left over between the transition from the A movements to the B movements. They wanted to get rid of those parts. And in some cases, they stopped making replacement parts before the model was even finished in production. I don't know why. My assumption, of course, naturally, is that, Seiko hates their customers. But I don't know that that's certainly true. I'm certainly that they all can't hate their customers, but their corporate culture is not one of innate quality. Their corporate culture is focused on what the bean counters are thinking about, and it's severely damaged Seiko's brand in my mind. Buying a modern Seiko for me, a new Seiko, between that and the fact that every single new one I've ever gotten has the same problem, which is like 1.2 beat error and gaining or losing time, usually gaining. It's like they can't even be bothered to set the movements correctly before they go out. You get any brand new watch of any kind of generic type that uses, like, say, an ETA movement, a new ETA movement, it'll be perfect. It'll be perfect. I've never seen an exception to that where they didn't come out 0 beat error and flat accuracy. Seiko just can't be effed.
Seiko SRPK 17 versus Jam SBSA 225.
Oh, so that should be JDM.
Oh, I'm like, I didn't know they made Jam.
This was the new reissue of Seiko's very first sport diver.
Okay.
We own one. Again, because of the aforementioned issues with that Seiko had with them, I had to go through. It was the last time I bought a brand new modern Seiko, and I don't know what's going to trip me to do the next one. Mine I've adjusted and I've cleaned it up, but I've never worn it, and honestly, I'm probably going to put it up for sale here pretty soon. So what was the question that I missed?
I didn't even say it yet, because I said Jam, not JDM, because there was a typo.
I enjoy Jam.
I know. Wannabe engineer. I purchased my made in Japan SRPK 17 from Seiko USA online. It has the ES day wheel. I have seen several other US 80s selling the non-made in Japan model. It seems strange they would set up 2 production lines for a limited edition, but kudos to Seiko for selling the made in Japan version officially in the US.
I don't know. I don't understand it. That one actually kind of threw me for a loop, because it doesn't make sense to me, unless they were trying to capture the JDM fever here in the United States. They're like, ooh, we're going to give those guys a chance to, to buy JDM straight, instead of this. So I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning behind it, because it's at odds with Seiko's previous reasoning, which was JDM is JDM and everything else was not. I mean, the closest it came to JDM outside is sometimes you get kanji English 6002s, anything with a 2 at the end. And those I think of as Hong Kong models or Southeast Asia models, Australasian models. And that's the only place typically in the old days where you would see JDM quality, 21 joules for chronographs, for example, kanji English day wheels. And you would see those, outside of Japan. But that's it. In America, we got bupkis. But except for this, maybe they're trying to just, they're trying to sass it up.
Seiko G-type case bezel removal crystal change from Ron Rhoda 802. Thank you. I couldn't find anything about the replacement of this type of crystal. Thank you so much. This G case are also on some Lordmatics.
Yeah, they are actually. The G case is used a lot. 6138, 3000, for example, and the variants 3002, 3005, 3009. 3009 was only made for 9 months. Not very long. I actually have a segment about those cases. I'm going to dig through the casing guide for a second. Yep, the Seiko casing guide, the technical guide, Seiko technical guide. It's got every piece of information you need. I'm so grateful I have these. I didn't realize they were hard to get. I've got a few iterations of them. It's one of these things where if if I had the time and the means and the ability to guarantee that Seiko wouldn't sue the bejesus out of me to get these things duplicated, because the information is just irreplaceable. It shows everything that you need to know. One piece, screw back, snap back, beautiful cross section. It gets rid of all mystery. Everything is all broken down by model. 6105, 6000. There's a lot of models on here that I've never seen. There were a few Seiko dress models that in 6105 that I've never seen. But it ends all mysteries. One piece, square one, blah, 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 all this different stuff. And they have, what the great thing is for me, is they have these beautiful illustrations, which I just think are fantastic. These sort of 3/4 cutaways that show all the stuff that you need to know. Like this. I should stop moving this. Like this. This is a really cool thing. People ask about this a lot. This is how to deal with the retaining ring for a one-piece case. Sorry, kids are out of school, so it's a little louder around here than it normally would be. And there's the operation of that snap ring. Now we're looking for G-type cases. It's really nice. It's also fun to see the representative models they have for taking these watches to illustrate which ones they are. That is a 4500 Grand Seiko style. Yeah, in fact, no, this is a 5606 because it's got the, right here, you can barely see it. See that little thing? I think it's a 5200 series because that's for the fine adjust. That's pretty cool. Now, he was talking about a G-type case. Screw 1 is what that's called. Screw 3. What are the differences? I'm trying to think of examples here. That's a world time. That's a Dynie world time. Is it? Anyway, it's super, super, super cool. This is one of the mid-size. That is one of the mid-size 70-meter sport divers. 6119s, 6106s, and 6309s. Rotating ring. There's the warpy spring right there. How I wish that there was something like this for MGBs. I really need this. I need to see all the parts so I understand what I'm missing or what needs to go there. More of the same. Screw 10. Screw 11. How much is this? Oh, that's a poor man 62 MAS. I believe. Yep, I believe so. Really? And it's got an octagonal retaining ring. I don't remember that. How weird. King Seiko. So much information. It's criminal that it's not generally available. Oh, this is one of these clamshell cases. They're amazingly waterproof. You think they wouldn't be because they've got all these areas where, that it's vulnerable to water ingress, but they do really well. Square type 3. Oh, this is where you start getting really cool. You start getting your explanations of the greases. This is really, really, really cool stuff. And it shows you, for me, I'm extremely visual, and I have to see it to know what I'm looking at. This shows you, it tells you how to do everything. And the most interesting thing, like, my production got a lot better when I saw this very illustration, because it shows how to oil. You don't oil from the top of the cup. You oil on top of the area between the pinion and the jewel itself, and it stays there. Oiling from the top basically does darn near nothing. It's fantastic. All your questions answered. How much oil? Where? What type? And illustrations like this. I'd love to put this stuff on t-shirts. I mean, again, as long as, you know, Seiko wouldn't sue the bejesus out of me, which I would not want them to do. Oiling 4006, get ready. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, doing a Bellmatic, that's just wonderful. They are wonderful. I don't know why I have trouble with them. Maybe I have trouble with them because I'm afraid that I'm going to have trouble with them. 5106. 5606. There you go. 6106. Look at this. Everything you need to know. Drives me crazy that I don't have this memorized. But I have the documentation, and that's the important part. Explanation of representative calibers. Hey, look. There you go. Here's your pillar wheel. Hammer. Heart wheel. And this is where you get into the real fun stuff, which is how to assemble and disassemble. Because you can run it one way or the other depending on which way you're going. All the steps are laid out meticulously. Seiko Salvia, what the heck is that? There you go, 4006. I'm getting ready to do a Bellmatic. There's a Bellmatic I want to do, so that might be the one. Look at all the springs. I don't know if you can see this, but it's like springs upon springs with springs on top of springs, like over here, springs that are reinforcing other springs that hold other springs down. Shepherd Crook spring. There's another Shepherd Crook spring. Just, you got to be on your toes when you're dealing with one of these. Note, normal tolerance for the alarm ring is plus or minus 5 minutes. There you are, the not to the minute. Give you a little bit of fudge room on there. Do not cover pin head. Okay, that's typical. That they're talking about this for the magic lever, the pallet fork. One of the biggest things is problems with lubrication is having too much lubrication is almost as bad as having too much. Sometimes it can be worse, because if you get lubrication in the wrong place, man oh man alive. Man oh man shepherds. Anyway, sorry, I get distracted because it's so fun to go through these and check and look. Troubleshooting. Priceless information. Okay, well, I could do this all afternoon, but I don't think I'm gonna.
Sorry for the TV in the background. Sebastian didn't realize he couldn't watch TV while Daddy was making a video.
Yeah, because kids are at summer now and they're inside, and his friends aren't out, so he's killing time inside. playing Minecraft with his sister, and they're arguing about whether or not to play on survival or on, what's the opposite of survival?
Creative.
Creative
But no,
mode.
he put on, because I was upstairs, and then Willow was whining that Sebastian's mean because she got booted from the server because she was on her iPad, and when I went downstairs, he put on Super Kitties. So that's what you heard, and me whispering at him to turn it off.
Turn off. Here we are.
KVW's overdue review of the Seiko MM300 SBDX001 Marine Master.
Yeah.
Wrist watcher. Why do you think the watch is so big?
It's a large, heavy watch. Seiko at that time, especially in like the 2000 era, up to especially in through the 2010s, everything they made was slightly on steroids. Everything was just 10% bigger than you'd expect it to be. The Marine Master carries it well, though, because of the case design with the sloped sides, and a lot of its bulk is hidden underneath. It is sort of hidden in sort of the way that the case design is put together. It reduces the visual size, the visual weight of the watch, but they're a big watch. Seiko also, at this time, they made a lot of choices to make it look... And we're back. Okay, so I'm answering the...
Well, I just read one sentence and you kind of kept going.
Sorry. Oh, I want to finish the thought that I had, though. Like, they did make choices to make the watch seem bigger. Like, they made the rotating ring bigger and taller, a lot taller. The watch doesn't have to be that high. They could easily have dropped the height of it, which they did in some of the other versions, the other recreated versions of that watch. That's one of the things that maybe they could have done, but the watch itself is its own form of perfection. So I don't complain about it anymore.
I know, I love the design. Do you think it's to obtain the professional 300-meter water resistance for saturation diving without any helium escape valve?
Well, I mean, that's how Seiko works. That's how Seiko deals with all of their... That's how Seiko deals with excluding these really, really, really fine gases. Helium, was it? Mm-hmm. I always get helium and hydrogen confused. They both start with an H. And they're both odorless and colorless. But they use the same thing, which is the L gasket. Seiko invented that for the tunas when they were first brought out in 1976. They had a sort of a version of it in the earlier 6159, but it was two separate gaskets, one for the side of the crystal, one for the underneath of the crystal right around the edge. Those L gaskets were specifically designed to make sure you didn't need a release valve because you were preventing the gas from getting in the first place. And that's just genius. It was a genius innovation, and Seiko did that.
I'm curious what you think of the new Seiko SPB455.
I don't know. I haven't seen.
Which is the 62 MAS, but now has diver's 300-meter water resistance.
I'd have to look it up. I'm sorry to say. I didn't even get a chance to look at it real quick. She's going to look it up. I don't know. I have been thinking, if they weren't a bajillion million dollars, the SLA 055 62 MAS reissue, I've been considering, because they did a really nice stock job on it. I don't remember how clean and flat the markers were. Oh, we owned one of those. Yeah. In fact, I owned that specific one.
It's not there.
There we go. Yeah, I owned that specific one. I didn't keep it because I don't like wearing brand new watches. They make me nervous. So I just never wore it, and then I felt like a jackass for owning a watch I wasn't going to wear, and so I felt bad for the fact that it was here, and it should be on a wrist, and I bought something I shouldn't use, which is wasteful, and irresponsible. This is my thought process. I'm not saying anything about anybody else, and so I sold it. I wish I still had it. I would have at least liked to own it long enough to sort of look at it, but I mean, it had the same problem that all the other new Seikos do, which is that it had beat error, like 0.8 to 1.2 beat error, and it was gaining time. It was unadjusted. There's unadjusted and there's unadjusted. Seiko's new watches are flat out unadjusted, no matter even if they're top of the line. I don't know why they choose to do that, but man, their eye is on the bottom line. That's every single minute of every single day.
4AT Seiko 7828 chronograph restoration. Tamir Dossier 3680. Hi, are 7838 movements universal with other 7838 models? I'm currently trying to replace a dead movement from a 7838 6020 and was wondering if I can replace the movement with that from a 7838 7289.
Yep, exactly the same movement, no different whatsoever. It's no different than taking a 350 Cleveland out of one Ford and putting it in another 350. Well, I think actually it's a 351 Cleveland. But anyway, there's no difference whatsoever. So yeah, just swap them one to the other.
Seiko 101, changing the capacitor in a kinetic Gen 1 Landmaster. Michael Fearn 6408. Hello Spencer, thanks for the video. I recently got a Seiko AGS Spirit one-piece case watch. I was wondering what happens when the capacitor goes, and now I go. Thanks, Mick from England.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that video came in handy. Those Landmasters are cool. The AGS Landmasters, the first gen Landmaster. I have a first gen and a second gen, both of which I don't watch. Both of which I don't wear. And so I'm actually probably going to sell both of mine. And they both have brand new capacitors. But yeah, that's how you do it. You open it from the front and just pop your new capacitor in, and, Bob is your close relative.
Let's build a brand new 1985 7C46 6009 Ashtray.
I wish I had not sold that watch.
Ya XR8977. I just got one of these bad boys, but bezel is stuck. How can I remove it with not damaging crystal or bezel insert?
Well, it's tough. The first thing you need to do is to get the bezel, is the bezel turning. If it's not turning at all, you can't get it to move. Here's what I do. I use a very small amount of lighter fluid, and I get it to wick in between the rotating ring and the case, because those things, they're a really tight fit. Seiko's rotating rings, normally you can get your case knife right into one spot and it levers up, so it goes boink. But for those things, you have to get all the way around. You have to lift it up basically all the way around before it'll snap off. And if the rotating ring gasket is really, really firm, because it's all stiff and old, that makes it even harder. So try to get it rotating, because that'll help. You get a little bit of lubrication going in there, basically, because you make everything kind of slightly gooey again. The next thing you do is you get some of your handy dandy protective wrap. It's a clear plastic wrap, like a super saran wrap. You can get it from watch places. You can buy it online. You wrap the watch in that, because you don't want to scratch anything. The next thing you do is you use razor blades, new razor blades, and you work them in on each.
Oh, that noise must be awful.
No, it actually doesn't make any sound at all.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you try to lever it up from just one side, there's a possibility that you could bend the ring, and that would be crappy, and that wouldn't be cool at all. I shouldn't have sold that NOS one. That was stupid. I paid $500 for that NOS watch, and I made it 100% working and clean and everything. And then I don't know why I wasn't wearing it. It was driving me nuts. I wish I'd kept it. I don't even know who I sold it to. I don't know who I've sold anything to.
Well, the great thing is if you sold it off of the website, you can go and look.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
Ooh.
It would be on there, I think.
Okay, Greenbean stuff is happening now.
It's Greenbean stuff. So if you don't feel like listening to Greenbean stuff, don't Greenbean it. Okay, welcome to the Greenbean Torium.
Mr. Bun 913, there should be light drag for the feeler gauge when you set the clearances. It should be easy to pull out, but there should be some drag. It's probably still going to tick while the engine is cold, as the clearance only close up when the engine is at operating temperature. We're all accustomed to modern engines with hydraulic tappets, which eliminate valve clearance entirely within a few seconds of starting the engine.
Yeah, it's true. Like I said, you also suggested no. Who was it? One of our other regular commenters on Green, Joseph Stewart, also put in to remind me to retorque the head, which I did. And retorquing the head actually produced some good results on top of doing the valve adjustments. Several of the bolts were quite loose, and a couple were over tightened. So I went and I retorqued all that stuff, and I did the pistons. I did the clearances, and it sounds much better than it did. It's still not idling great. It's really running rough at idle. The lowest I can get it running at idle and having it be like, I'm sure it's not gonna like stop running entirely when it's up to temperatures about 1100 RPM. But on the flip side of that, man, my oil pressure is just like a rock, and the temperature stays nice and steady, a little bit above neutral, a hair above neutral. And that's one nice thing about having an entirely new coolant system and having all new fresh oil throughout everything on top of an engine that was rebuilt completely 41 years ago. But apparently they did an okay job because it's got excellent oil pressure, which is really wonderful. I'm gonna have to check and do the clearances again and see if I can get it any better. That's my next thing.
Sidewalk Astronomy Netherlands. So you joined the White Legs Club. The owners of old English cars all have white legs for obvious reasons.
I was born with white legs. I've been working on white. Is the thing is because the gentlemen normally wear pants all day long, unless they're running around in their cars?
I don't know.
Well, I'm certainly a member. I'm probably a card-carrying member of the White Legs Club. I'm looking at my legs right now, and they're pretty damn white.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So I'll wear that. Maybe I should get a T-shirt made.
Maybe.
And it's a crossover to Fallout New Vegas. Don't you remember? You remember that the Native American tribe was the White Legs? Oh, well, they weren't Native American. They were Survivor, right?
Yeah. Bruce Barlow, 6604. The feeler gauge should be a snug fit, not tight, when adjusting the tappers. Also, seeing that the motor had a rebuild many years ago, I would recommend retorquing the head bolts. Good
There
progress
we are.
going on. Good luck for the vehicle test.
Yep. Okay, so Joseph Stewart's the one that talked about it.
Bruce Barlow.
Bruce Barlow was the one who talked about that. Thank you, Bruce Barlow. Joseph Stewart has made many, many comments as well, helpful ones as well. I'll get it done. I have to. My stage is now. The seats for past the inspection, you got to bolt the seats in. Okay. Well, the way my thinking goes is like I'm not going to bolt in jack if I expect it to ever come out again, which means I have to put insulation and sound deadening throughout the entire cabin and especially the firewall. I want to make the inside of this thing really, really well insulated, because I remember being a kid and driving around in Dad's MGs and my legs just frying in the wheel wells, and I want that to not be the case. So I'm now on this side track where I'm dealing with the entire interior, putting down hush mat and getting ready to put the carpets in and all that stuff, and it's so much work. Like I've got to put snaps into the body, there's just a ton of stuff that I have to do. And it's adding to the time, but I'm definitely getting closer. There's just such funky stuff with this, because the guy who sold it, when he sold it, the project was nowhere near ready. And it has things like, I found that a lot of the bolts for the drive shaft were loose. Like I could tighten them by hand, and they weren't lock nuts. And then I think a lot of the bolts and nuts and stuff didn't come along when the car was sold by him to the next guy, who immediately sold it to me. A lot of the stuff was gone. Oh, I wrote him. He wrote me. The original Ted, the guy that did this. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm missing a bunch of nuts and bolts, and also the frame for the convertible top. He said, oh no, all that stuff went with it. So that means the other guy, he must have that stuff, and I've got to contact him and say, dude, let's see if I can get it. I hope I can get it, but we'll see. That's pretty much about it, folks. Thank you for watching, listening along. I appreciate it. Please keep those questions coming. I really appreciate it. We like answering them. And we are back in the saddle again after a vacation. Mm-hmm. Okay? Okay. Bye.
Bye.